Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, P Street Garage. It's time to do a little bit of work on my turd Civic. So if you're new to the channel, this is the Honda Civic with 435,000 kilometers that I bought 3 years ago for $500. And right now, you can tell by the driveway, she's got leaks. She's got leaks. That's not from the Mustang, it's from the Civic. And wherever I leave this car, she leaves puddles everywhere. And what it is I've got a transmission line that's leaking. So, of course, I'm not planning on ordering any fancy parts or anything. This is just my my old beater for getting around. And the main purpose for this car is to keep the mileage off of my Tacoma. And particularly this winter. This winter I want to set the snowplow up on the Tacoma and leave it at home in the yard. And I can use that old thing for getting back and forth to work and running errands. So yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull into the garage and try to have a peek and see where all this fluid is coming from. Hopefully, I think it's a line, but I'm not 100% sure. Hopefully it's a line and we can patch it up. So let's take a look at that. All right, I've got the car inside on the ramps. And you can see 2 minutes it took to get up on the ramps. You can see the droplets, so let's dig in a little bit. I'm gonna get a light and we'll try to find where this leak is coming from, and we'll try to rectify it. Very hard to see, guys. I'm looking right down here for the radiator line. I actually can't see it through the camera. I can't see it through the camera, but I see a little stream coming from the hard line, and when the fan's not running, I'll put my hand on here to stop that. I can see I can see a tiny little pinhole, and that's what's making this mess. So I'm going to try to undo the hard line and see if we can do anything with that. Okay. Well, we might be a little bit onto something here. So this is the banjo. So this is where it comes out of the transmission. That's a 17. Is that a 17? In case somebody needs to do this. Yes, this is a 17 millimeter bolt. It's a banjo bolt arrangement, as in it's got a seal on one side, and there's a seal on the other that I lost somewhere that I need to find. So the pinhole was obviously right at this intersection, and I just wiggled it a little bit and it came right apart. It was completely deteriorated. So this obviously goes down. This was the other end of the tube where it just simply ties back into a rubber hose and it goes somewhere else. I think it goes up to the external filter. Not 100% sure, but anyway. This is just one pipe off of the transmission that was leaking fairly well. So now I need to try to do some kind of a patch job. I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to cut this back till I get good metal. And I'm just going to use a rubber hose. I got to get some rubber hose that's approved for transmission fluid. And some kind of wire, rubber hose will work, but I'll try to get something that's reinforced. The stuff on the car is reinforced. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I'll show you where it comes down underneath. This is the end of the hose right here. This is the end of the hose right here, where it's dripping a little bit. Right here. And I just push the clamp back, and you can see that there's some reinforcement in that hose. So I'm going to try to find something similar. If I could slip a rubber onto here maybe. And then maybe I've got a little bit of copper tubing. I'll have a peek, see what I have. I'll try to make something work. This is essentially going to be a piece of rubber hose, maybe with a piece of copper tubing that slips back onto here with a couple clamps. Very simple. Again, this is an old car. 435,000 kilometers. Runs very well, but obviously I don't want to spend a lot of money on this car. And before I go ordering a hose, because I could do that. It's probably not the end of the world. I'm just going to see what I have around and see if I can make something work. All right. Okay, well, I'm messing around with a few different ideas here. So this is the piece that comes out of the transmission with the banjo fitting arrangement. So I had a nice piece of a rubber hose here, but it's too small a diameter, so I'd be able to pair it up with this copper tubing. I got lots of that, but it's all too small. Then I found this other piece that I had, and it's essentially the same diameter. So I think what I'm going to do is there's very little of this hose left, as in there's a piece on the other end of this that goes right back into the transmission, or some kind of a, it's not the filter as it turns out, I think it's before the filter. There's some kind of a, it goes into something on the side of the transmission, and I don't know what it is. So I'm not going to alter that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run out, see if I can get some of this hose, and I'll just make a nice, splice here, and I'll be able just to measure and cut this off and slip that into the existing rubber that's already there. So fingers crossed. I don't even know what this is. I'm going to go see if I can find a chunk of this hose. All right, well, I think I'm on plan C now. I was going to do the copper pipe with a couple splices. Then I decided to run out to CarQuest. I ran out to CarQuest and I got some of this 3/8. This is proper transmission line, and this was only $6.99 a foot. I picked up some of these good hose clamps, what they call the fuel injection hose clamp. They're a lot stronger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip this onto here with a clamp, maybe two, and then I'll drive this opposite end right into that block. I was saying there's a block on the other end. I'm not sure what it is, but it's readily accessible. So I'm just going to slip the old piece of the hose off, and I'm going to clamp that on with these clamps. So we're going to have essentially an entire new hose. This will not be new, but I think I've cleaned it up. I've cut it to where the bad spot is completely gone, and we'll fasten this in like that, and I think that'll be just fine. This should just be as good as a new hose. All right, let's get this together. Let's get under the car and pull off that extra piece. Okay, so this is how it's going to go in. I put all the hardware sticking towards the front because there's not a lot of clearance in the back, but I think that's going to be nice and tight, no leaks, and we'll just measure and fasten the other end. Let's try that. Okay, well, I was able to pull off the remainder of that of the old hose, and I'll try to show you. It's very hard to see. I'm going to try from underneath. I'll show you where it goes in case you ever run into this problem. All right. So, can you see? You can't see a thing. Where the heck is it? I'll put my hand on it. Where are my fingers pointing to? Right there. I can see it, but I can't see it on the film. There it is. There's the tip. So the hose tied into this little barb fitting. So essentially it only has to go from here to this hole up here where my other finger is. If you can see that. It's next to impossible to see. Right there. Right there is where the banjo bolt will go. Very, very simple job. It's just really hard getting your hands in there. So I think I'm gonna come in from the top with my banjo bolt. It's that hole right there. That one right there where my finger is. That one. I'm going to come in with a banjo bolt. I'm going to fasten it. I'm going to tug the hose down. I'm going to trim it and slip it onto that barb connection. And I'm going to put one clamp on, and hopefully that's it. Now it's that was a pinhole. I could see it. Now everything under here is very, very greasy, so there potentially could be more leaks. But we'll start with this one. And the good thing about this one is I really lost almost no fluid. So where I've been topping up the fluid with that leak, well, the fluid in there is pristine, so that's kind of good. So let's get this hose on. We'll start the car, and hopefully no drips. All right, guys, got the hose all installed. Got the car running. There's the tip of my fitting right there. I don't see any leaks. That looks like a good little fix. Let's take a peek from underneath. So hard to see. I see my hose clamps shining there with the 17mm banjo arrangement just above. Looks like no leaks at all there. Now, everything else around there is a little bit wet, so it could be other issues, but for now, this is fixed. And our other little hose on the other side. Let me try to reposition this little hose here. This one. That's pushed onto the barb. This one. The barb is right here at the end of my finger. And no leaks, looks good. So we'll keep an eye on it, and hopefully we got this one nipped in the bud for just a few bucks. So, transmission leak fixed, or the main transmission leak fixed. Now I also do have a power steering leak. Every once in a while I have to top up my power steering, and the reservoir here is tiny, so I can't see anything obvious up here, so it's probably down at the steering rack somewhere. So I'm going to poke my head underneath there and see if I can see anything obvious. Since we got this one done, maybe we could do the other one, and we could stop dripping oil all over the darn driveway. And yeah, let's take a look. Okay, well, I didn't have to poke around very long to find the power steering leak. The only problem is it's so darn low I can barely get to it, so let's take a look. There's the hard line that goes right at the cross member. Let me get close. So there it is. That's the hard line that goes across there. You can see it. I poked around a little bit with my finger around all the debris, and it's just pouring like a sieve. So that's my other big leak. So alright, let's see what we can do with this one. Okay, well, I'm under the car a little bit closer, and I managed to find my leaking line. It's right here. This is my leaking line right here, and I can see it's attached on each end to a rubber hose. I'm going to try to let these go. There's one right, you probably won't see it because it's so close, right here. I've already loosened this one, and I'm going to pop these rubber hoses off, and I think there's another fastener or two down here if I follow this. Try to pop this metallic line. I'm hoping that this will just come out and it's not part of the rack. At this point, I don't know. I'm not an automotive tech. I'm just a guy who's trying to patch up his old car. So I'm going to let these go. I'm going to try to haul this out, find out where the pinholes are, and maybe we'll use some rubber tubing to replace the bad sections, or I mean, I might have to break down and get on the blower and order a power steering hose. Right now, I'm just hoping that this is not part of the kit. I really don't know. So let's try to pull this out. All right, guys. Well, here is the power steering line for the Civic. It's exactly how it sits under the car, and it is exactly in that rear cross member. And there it is. It was not. I said kit. I don't know why I said kit. I meant to say steering rack, and this is not attached to the steering rack. There's a couple of little metal clamps with rubbers. So this just kind of presses into those, or actually I've bent them up a little bit. I'm going to hammer them back down so the line is held in place, and you simply have one rubber hose that slips onto here and one that slips onto the other. Now, I've got some pinholes down here somewhere. I'm going to try to determine where this is, or where these are. I'm going to clean this line up, and I'm either going to order one of those, or I have some leftover 3/8 line from my transmission fix. I'll put a section in here if need be, if I can. Or I could even go wild and crazy and make one out of copper, because it's the exact same diameter. And for the pressure of power steering, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm willing to bet that that would be adequate. I mean, if a rubber hose is adequate, that should be adequate. So first things first, I'm going to run this on the wire wheel. I'm going to get this cleaned up. If I can identify just one small part that's damaged, then I will I'll just put a section of hose in. I think that'd be better, because that'll keep that original shape. And this hose has the barbs and everything, so kind of would be maybe better than the copper, although I do think the copper would work. Let's get this cleaned up. Let's find out where we're leaking. All right, well, I found my pinhole. I cut the pipe, and I put a piece of that 3/8 hose that I had left over. And with a clamp on each side, and I sucked as hard as I could on this end with my finger on this end, and there's no leaks. Now, this is an old pipe. There's a good chance that it will leak in the future, but I got everything here. It's really, once I fix the transmission, this is a freebie. So I've got one of these left, and I've got this one here that I can reuse on this end, and she's going back in with new fluid. Now, I tried to make one out of copper, but I just couldn't get this angle here. I tried a couple different, but it kept kinking, so I thought kink will be a weak spot. So none of this is ideal. This is patchwork, but I'm choosing to do this because that's the $500 Civic, and this is by no means how to replace your pipes. And somebody's probably going to say, well, you know, you could get this on Rock Auto for very cheap, and you are correct. But I'm just playing here, and I want to try this. So let's get this line back in the car, and let's top her up with fluid and see what we get. Okay, the line is all back in. Let's top up this power steering. Yeah, I'll have to run the engine, get that sucked down. See if we get success. It should whine because it's super empty. Okay, it's going down. We'll top up the transmission also. We'll check that after. Once the car is back on level ground. No new drips. Okay. Now I can't really cycle the wheel because I'm up on the ramps here, so I'd have to go from side to side to get everything filled up. I'll do a top up once the car's back on the ground. Yeah, I did not put that in there. I did not put that much in there, so we'll put the car back on level ground and we'll recheck all the fluids. Alright. So far so good. Guys, well there you have it. Probably an extremely boring video. I apologize for that, but that's just a couple of little jobs that needed to get done. Not my favorite thing to be working on. I mean, you know, I'd like to be working on that old truck. I've got my bus. I got a whole new load of metal. I got to be working on that probably starting tomorrow. I just wanted to get this out of the way, and I hope maybe this can help someone. Just patching up some old lines, just making do with what you have, sort of. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it for now. Thanks for watching, and no more puddles in the driveway. We'll catch you in the next one.